Welcome to a brand new episode of CNB. I am Siddharth Vinayak Patnankar. This week we come to you from Sonoma County, just north of San Francisco in California, the United States. The reason I'm here is very obvious. The fifth generation of the Range Rover. That name certainly gets your attention because it's the flagship for Land Rover and there is so much anticipation around this new car. So today you get a special first look at it on the program. But I promise you the review in just a few days' time. For now though, I have to tell you today is a bit of an electric vehicle special. And these are cars that are going to excite us right through this year. The EV6 from Kia, the IONIQ 5 from Hyundai, and the XC40 Recharge from Volvo.
Volvo doesn't usually stir the pot in India. Certainly not as frequently as other premium car makers. But when it does, it makes sure it's basking in the limelight. This time around, the Swedish car maker is on an electric revolution, which involves converting half its portfolio into electric cars by 2025. Yes, that's the global goal. And the first one to get electrified is the XC40. The quirky-looking compact SUV from the Scandinavian company has taken the electric route and comes to India at a time when the EV trend has just started to catch on. Volvo is offering the XC40 Recharge in its P8 form, a single variant offering which will be loaded with everything Volvo is known for. Now the XC40 Recharge may be an EV, but it shares almost all its aesthetics with the gasoline and diesel powered versions.
Customary and traditional vertical stack taillight and pretty much everything else in terms of styling that screams Volvo. You know that from the XC40. It's just this Recharge that's been etched in here on the side, on the two-tone roofline, and the badge at the back that really gives it away. Of course, in the front, you also have the non-existent grille, but otherwise the styling is exactly like the XC40. That's a good thing in the Indian context because you want this car to be really attractive, good looking. The XC40 always had that covered. Now, the fact that this is Volvo's first electric product in a compact footprint also makes me hopeful on the pricing equation.
The XC40 Recharge has one of the best looking interiors and is of course the most spacious in the segment. It comes with top quality materials for the upholstery and sustainable too because the materials are partially recycled.
Just like the ICE counterpart, the XC40 Recharge gets a very appealing, very modern, very urban and young cabin design. The layout is great. There's lots of tech to talk about, but that's separate and we'll come to it. What's nice though is that the India spec will also follow that whole sustainability principle. So you've got that typical XC40 door fabric liner that's made out of recycled ocean plastic. Nice touch. The India spec will also not get leather anywhere in the cabin, and that's nice. In the premium brigade, to take that sort of a stance I think is really smart. Few other quirks very typical of Volvo that you can expect. Something like this, the glove box, open it, it's got this little fold out hook and then you can hang up to 2 kgs there. So just a little grocery bag or a handbag, that's a nice touch and I like it. So good quality of materials, good finish, and another quirk, no start stop button. The car just senses that you're in, you have the key and all you have to do is put it into drive. That's when everything comes to life.
At the heart of the Volvo XC40 Recharge beats an electric motor, and it comes with a single motor drivetrain relying on a 79 kilowatt-hour battery to develop a combined output from both the axles of 405 bhp and 660 Newton meters of peak torque, transferring power to all wheels via a single speed transmission. Now, this is good enough to accelerate to 100 km per hour from a standstill in just 4.9 seconds, which is not bad in the EV realm since the Polestar 2 electric sedan is only 2 milliseconds quicker.
It's plenty sporty, the Recharge. It's a lot like the XC40, of course, and so you get the same kind of drive dynamics, really nice ride quality, a fairly stiff overall feel, which is really responsive as well in terms of the energy that you get. That's not surprising for an electric, and the instant torque part you already know. It makes the car really fun to drive. You get instant response. You don't have different drive modes, mind you. It's only got an off-road mode that you can go into for a little extra traction, but otherwise you don't miss that too much because you get, like I said, really great response. You can go into the settings, into the drive settings that is, and adjust the steering feel. So you can make the steering a little stiffer. I like that, so I have done that. The other thing you can do in there is to go and click one pedal driving. So you don't have those 3 different regen modes. There's no paddle shift adjustment. You just go in there like on the Jaguar I-Pace. You just turn it on or off. On is great because single pedal driving can be so much fun. You get used to it. It is really nice and dynamic, even in a driving sense. It kind of contributes to that. And you, of course, are sending more juice back into the battery.
And the range is a decent 400 odd kilometers. Only if you keep a soft touch over the pedal.
Now, the one thing I found a little bit annoying is that in the digital driving display here on the cluster, you get a quick little readout on the percentage of battery remaining, but you don't get driving range. And you know, when you're driving, that's the thing you want to keep an eye on. So that's a little annoying, but the good part is you can go into the screen here, range assistant, and straight away you get to see remaining kilometer range. And so that's reassuring. It's a nice big number. It's easy to read, even when you're driving.
It's almost impossible not to mention safety when we speak of Volvo. And in typical Volvo fashion, the car is loaded to the gills with features that is worth every penny.
Being a Volvo, tons of safety equipment, all standard. There will only be one India spec, one India variant, and so which means all of this will be loaded onto the car. You got lots of stuff to talk about. Lane keep assist, you've got steering assist, you've got even the road sign recognition, which is really nice because you get to see the little speed limit pop up on the digital instrument cluster. And you've also got collision warning and active collision avoidance on board. So all of that, it's a Volvo. Should not be surprising, right?
On to the price then. Well, that's still not been announced, but a ballpark figure of 75 lakh rupees is something we are expecting. Yes, it's a bit expensive, but you know what? It would be the most affordable premium EV money can buy. And Volvo has sure played its cards right.
A new era in mobility as the entire automotive world's focus shifts to battery electric vehicles. And after hearing about everyone's plans for BEVs, now we are seeing the products. And they're credible, capable, and clever. The car a lot of people are talking about, in particular all over the world, is the Hyundai IONIQ 5. The retro modern looks, the large airy cabin, the obvious tech, and terrific performance make this a very strong player on the EV stage globally. I am very excited to test this car in Germany as part of my duties on the jury for G40, or German Car of the Year. I am happy to report that the IONIQ 5 has already bagged the award in the new energy subcategory. That also means it is a finalist for the overall honor of 2021 G40. The car looks absolutely superb. I loved its retro looks at first sight, and yet they are still finished off in a very contemporary design style. And while its proportions may fool you into thinking it's a small car, it is bigger than a Creta and even the Tucson. Now, of course, it's a modern look, but there's something very digital about it in some senses. Just when you look at it, you also get absolutely no sense of any prior Hyundai model. Also, none of the prior IONIQ models either. Well, to be fair, Hyundai says the design is inspired by its very first car, the Pony, from the mid-70s. But I just don't see it. The pixel look taillights, the sexy LED signature for the lights up front, and the sharp cuts and angles in the side flanks are a very specific look that the IONIQ 5 boasts. But it is the cabin that really gets a lot of attention. Two large 12.3-inch screens combine to form the majority of the dash and give the car a sexy display panel. The graphics and quality of that screen are excellent. A lot of the info layout and functionality is identical to the screens on the Kia EV6. And that's no surprise because they are twins in some ways. But the IONIQ 5 has a larger cabin. The screens are standard across all variants. Connectivity and smartphone charging options abound, and the cabin feels nice and techy overall. The layout is almost Scandinavian in its minimalism, and the quality of the seats, materials, and overall cabin are top-notch. I am very impressed. The central console between the front seats can slide backwards to offer more space for storage. The IONIQ 5 has three broad variants in terms of its powertrain options. The rear-wheel drive variant has a single 125 kilowatt motor and a 58 kilowatt-hour battery, 168 bhp and 350 Nm of torque, and a drive range of 384 kilometers. The more powerful variant is the 72.6 kilowatt-hour with 215 bhp and a whopping 480 kilometers drive range. And then there's the all-wheel drive with two motors, with 605 Nm of peak torque, 235 to 300 bhp options, and the range, well, it starts at 360 kilometers. On the road, the car feels bigger than the Kia EV6, even though they are similar in terms of the actual dimensions. And the main reason is a marginally bigger wheelbase. So while performance is not as sporty, it is still very good. Put it into sport mode and the character changes right away. Yes, it all stiffens up. You have a nicer, tighter steering feel. And of course, it goes faster. The response is definitely a lot quicker. It gives you a sense of urgency which you really want when you want to put it into sport mode. That yes, I'm ready for performance. What I especially love about the IONIQ 5 is that while Hyundai isn't even pretending this is an SUV, the seating position will rival many soft-roaders. So you sit nice and tall and get a great view of the road, and yet the car handles like a hatch. The strength of this platform for the group really, and of course therefore for the IONIQ 5, is a lot of the drive dynamics are sort of baked in, and that's going to hold it in good stead because there's going to be a lot of modularity, different body styles coming out on this, but the car's pretty on point on handling. Yes, the upcoming IONIQ 3 and 4 will be a hoot if this is anything to go by. And can we expect any of this to come our way? Yes, Hyundai is studying the feasibility of launching this car as a niche flagship offering in India, one that would play the role of brand shaper more than anything else. And don't forget, Hyundai is one of the few brands to at least launch a proper global EV in India when it gave us the Kona Electric. So I do hope the IONIQ 5 makes it sooner than later to the Indian market. There is already one on static display at Hyundai India's headquarters. The main thing that excites me about the IONIQ 5 is how far Hyundai has come and the sheer strength of the company's capability. So, here's hoping. Kia's first dedicated EV or electric vehicle, the first of many to come, as Kia says. So as that brand new electric flagship, the Kia EV6 needed to be very good. And it is. I am driving it today in Germany, where it has already picked up a lot of buyer interest. Now the 6 in the name of course tells you that Kia's family of born electric vehicles will all be called EV something, and this is the EV6, which also tells you that there's going to be a bunch of them because of course there's going to be a lot of them going forward. Built on the Hyundai Motor Group's new Electric Global Modular Platform or EGMP, the EV6 shares a lot with its Hyundai alter ego, the IONIQ 5. Its looks are its own though. The design team went for a crossover look, and which is why many call this an SUV. To me, it's more a large hatch, or yes, a crossover. A modern face, smooth flanks, and a rear that is especially expressive. The flared out fenders at the back are inspired by the Lancia Stratos from the 1970s. It has deployable door handles that sit flush with the body. Overall, this is the first car that displays Kia's new Opposites United design language. And you really see that in the rear taillight housing and styling. But along with that new design language, you still get some familiarity because Kia's Tiger Nose grille is here. It's been reinterpreted, but it's very much here. And it is also the first model to have the new Kia logo right from word go. We do know that logo well enough now. The car is just as sharp and modern looking on the inside. Clean cabin design dominated by dual 12.3-inch curved screens up front. The graphics are very nicely done, and the car gives you the right blend of information that you need and a techie, cool quotient. Connectivity, head-up display, ambient lighting, all of that is a given, I suppose. The floating central console is also cool and gives you wireless charging for your phone. The two-spoke steering wheel looks really nice and houses the paddles to set desired levels of regeneration. And another button down front. Now the car's drive mode button is here on the steering wheel. I like that, it's very convenient. Usual drive modes, there's Eco, Normal and Sport, and then if you long press that button you get the Snow mode. Not using that today. The names are evident, but interestingly the Eco mode, well, the car also takes into account its own onboard cameras, any obstacles in the way. It also tracks what's happening with the navigation system, even if you're not following a destination, just to know what sort of topography lies ahead, and then gives you the most efficient use of the battery and the throttle. So, of course, saves most power. You put it into sport mode, things get mental, and that's nice. It also stiffens up, which is also good. No change in damping, but you do have a nice stiff steering in that sort of a scenario. But what is nice is that it also sounds a little bit different. I kind of like that. The sport mode is indeed very responsive. It is pretty much where I stayed the entire afternoon. I had the chance to take the car out on 2 runs, so I did try the other modes too. The EV6 has a claimed range of 394 to 528 kilometers for the models sold in Germany. Drive in city mode alone, and that goes even higher. The top spec EV6 GT with 584 bhp is coming soon. That has the lower end of drive range but highest end of the performance. With me today is the GT line variant. It has a 77.4 kilowatt-hour battery and a 320 bhp output. Torque is 605 Nm. A 2-motor setup means all-wheel drive is standard. The entry EV6 in Germany gets a 58 kilowatt-hour setup with the same output but reduced driving range. Top speed on both is 185 kilometers per hour, though the GT will have 260 kilometers per hour. Some markets will get a 225 bhp rear-wheel drive single-motor variant, though not here in Germany, at least not yet. The EV6 handles well and has a terrific weighted steering. The car feels engaging and keeps you interested all the time. And as I already said, the sport mode keeps all your senses hooked. Now, being the very first dedicated EV from Kia, this car had to be a flagship. It really had to stand for everything that the company has achieved in terms of its R&D, in terms of its capability, its technology. And so it's really loaded with everything from driver assistance systems to, of course, safety, and even very fine detail on things like material quality, the screens, all of that has been paid a lot of attention to, and that's very obvious.
The big question you're asking is, why should you care? Will the EV6 come to India? The simple answer is yes. Kia India is looking at the introduction of an EV model, and we know it will be a born electric car, so that rules out the likes of the Soul EV. The EV6 makes the most sense from the point of view of shape, size, segment, attribute, and levels of luxury and tech, and also what it will do for the brand's image. But it will remain a niche flagship, as it starts at over 45,000 euro, even in Europe, making it ideal for only a few.
Lots of EVs and lots of excitement around them. And by the way, the new 5th generation Range Rover will also have its own BEV version by 2024. But for starters, you can expect the different drivetrains, all the information on how the car drives and all the new features. That's something to look forward to right here on CNB. I can tell you that we will be getting petrol, diesel and standard wheelbase, long wheelbase as well. These are the two cars that are here in different varying body lengths. We will have all of those options, and like I said, the details on CNB very soon. Meanwhile, tell us what you'd like to see, and always remember to wear your seat belts, front or back, helmets if you're on a bike. Join us next week for more.